Hey guys, welcome back to Science Skills and Life Skills with Vikhyath. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about the canvas element in HTML. So a canvas is an element which displays 2D images and bitmaps and also lets you change them. You can also draw freehand drawings in them. So if you haven't watched my previous HTML, JavaScript and CSS videos, please do watch them. So in this case, I'm going to use the canvas to let the user create a freehand drawing. So let us first define the canvas, then the height of the canvas, which will be 600, and the width, which will be 800. You can change the width and height how much ever you want, but I'm giving 600 and 800 because it has to fit perfectly into this background image. We'll be coming to this later. So, and also let's give it an ID, which will be my canvas. And we are done with the canvas part. So now let's refer to the JavaScript file using the script tag and give the reference. So you might be wondering why I have not referred to the JavaScript file in the header tag, as I always do. So whenever you are including a canvas element, you should always refer to the JavaScript file after the canvas element. So that's the syntax. And also you can put little CSS. So here in this case I have put a background color, a border style, a border color and a border width. You can tweak these properties and add even more if you want to. And I've also added a background image, which is this. This is the background image I'm using. So now that we're done with the canvas, let's add a few more elements to the body. So now let's add a BR tag to give a small space. And then I'm going to let the user to select the colors, the pen width, etc. So I'm going to give the label and the text inputs for them. So this is the first one for the color. So I've given a label and a text input with the ID color input. Like that, I'm going to keep giving for the pen width. So now I have finished giving all the text inputs and the labels for the same. And now let's add an important thing to the CSS. It is text align and give it as center. So now if we check our HTML page, which is for which I'm going to use the live test. So now if we check our HTML page, we have everything centered, and that's the use of the text align. So now that we are done with the CSS, let's get to the JavaScript part, which gets the canvas working. So now let's add a canvas variable, which is the document.getElement, and we're going to give the ID of the canvas, and that's what we're going to store in this element, in this variable. Okay, let's create another variable, which is CTX. CTX stands for context. You can even give it as context. And let's use our canvas variable, which we created before. And let's give get context. So unfortunately, I have to type the entire thing. The suggestions don't come for get context. And for this, you're going to give 2D. So now we are done with this. Now let's define the variables for the pen color, the pen width, etc. So for that, we're going to create a variable color, which you can either give a blank color or you can give a default color as red, because the users might start drawing even without entering the color. So for that is why I have used the default color. So now let's also give the variable for pen width, which for now let's keep it as 3. And let's also create a variable called mouse event. And I'll explain soon what does a mouse event do. And finally, we are going to give a last position of x and y coordinates. So this will help in pinpointing where the mouse is and to draw wherever that mouse is. So now I'm going to explain what is a mouse event. So a mouse event is, it listens for mouse clicks, mouse moves, dragging your mouse, etc. So now let's add an event listener. So event listener is a function. So here when we give the brackets, it shows what all we have to enter. So let's give double quotations, and you have to define the mouse event that you want to listen for. So in this case, I'm going to give mouse down. Mouse down means mouse click, and now whenever the mouse is clicked, we should give a function which should be executed when the mouse is clicked, and that will be my mouse down. So you can give whatever name you want, and you don't need to give any brackets for this. So now let us add another event listener, which is for mouse move. So mouse move itself won't activate the drawing. So if you combine mouse down and mouse move, it's none other than dragging. So let's give mouse move, and let's give the function as my mouse move. And we are done with the event listeners. So now let's define the functions. So function my mouse down, and let's also give a parameter which is e, and now we can start to code the function. So now let us define the function my mouse down. So let's use the variable color, and we're going to give color equals to document dot get element by id, and we're going to give the id for the text input of color, which is color input. So let's give the quotation marks, and let's give color input, and then we're going to give dot value, and we are done with color. Now we should give the pen width. So width equals document dot get element by id, and let's give for the width input, and we're going to give dot value. Dot value means just take the value of the text input. And also one very important thing that you have to do is you have to change the mouse event to mouse down. After all, that is the purpose of adding the event listener. So let's take mouse event, which will be equal to mouse down. Okay. Now let us define the second function, which is my mouse move. So for this function as well, we are going to give the parameter as e, and also we are going to use this parameter which is e dot client x minus canvas dot offset left. And in the next line, we're going to give client y minus canvas dot offset top. So what these two lines are used for is, suppose the user clicks outside the canvas, it will check how far you have clicked outside the canvas, and then subtract that so that your drawing still falls inside the canvas. And now it is finally time to define the stroke. So let's give an if condition, and then we're going to give if mouse event equals mouse down. So so basically what I'm giving as the condition is, if it is already pressed down and you want to move it, this condition basically asks if the mouse is dragging, so what should happen. So let's give ctx dot begin path, and then let's give ctx dot stroke style, which will be equal to the color which the user has entered. So we're going to use the color variable. And now let's use the ctx dot. Now let's write ctx dot line width will be equal to our variable which is width. And then we are going to give ctx dot move to. So we should write ctx dot move to, and then we have to give the x, for which we'll be using last position x and last position y. Now one thing to note is I forgot to mention this before. We have to give a variable which is current position x, which equals this. Same thing for current position y. Okay, so now we can continue coding for the stroke. So for the next line, we are going to give ctx dot line 2, and we are going to give current position x as well as current position y. And then it's time for a final line of code for the stroke, which is ctx dot stroke, and we are done. And now after this if condition, let's give last position y equals current position y, and the same thing for last position x, which equals. Okay, so now if we leave it like this, it won't work exactly as we want it to. So what we have to do is we have to add another event listener for mouse up, and then we are going to give the function so now we are going to give the function my mouse up. So the problem with not giving the mouse up event listener is if you let go of the mouse, it will keep drawing wherever the mouse is. So we don't want that. We want to let the user stop his drawing wherever he wants it to. So let's give the function of my mouse up and e, and all we're going to do is change the mouse event to mouse up. So even though this is a simple line of code, what it does is it doesn't activate this if condition even if you move it, because always the mouse event has to be mouse down if these lines of code are to activate. So if the mouse event is mouse up, this if condition won't activate. So, and also the C in client should be small, and then lo and behold your canvas starts working. So let us see how it works now. So let me draw a circle. Wow, it works perfectly. So now if we give another color like green, it draws it in green. If we give another color like blue, it draws it in blue. So the only problem with this kind of coding is if you scroll down and you draw here, because of our canvas offset code, it will draw a little bit above. But if you scroll it up, it will draw exactly where you want it to. So we can even change the pen width. So let's change it to 5. So it's much more thicker. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye.